Today I'm going to show you how to use Smoothfoam and Makin's clay to create a votive candle holder for Thanksgiving. To begin making our little votive tea light candle holder, I used some Smoothfoam. I took a sheet that's about 7/8 of an inch thick and I cut it into a piece that was 9 by 2.5. As I got working, I decided I actually wanted my votive holder to be a little taller, so I went ahead and cut a second sheet. I could have used a thicker sheet of Smoothfoam to begin with, but it's easy enough to work with and add and change layers as you go, so any size will work. Once I had my sheet cut, now I'm just using this one to show you how I went ahead and made the carved effect on the sides and the surface of my piece of Smoothfoam. If you use a good sharp craft knife and just carefully yet randomly take chunks from the smooth edges, you get an effect that's almost like carved wood. I wanted the same effect on the top so that it wasn't smooth. So I just put the surface of that knife underneath the top of my Smoothfoam. And again, I randomly cut pieces just to rough it up a little bit and make it more like a carved wood effect. Once I had the top carved and the edges, I went ahead and I mounted my two pieces of Smoothfoam together to make them the thickness that I wanted. Now, Smoothfoam's surface is good and smooth and takes paints beautifully. You can use spray paints on it or hand paint it with acrylics, which is what I did for this project. I used an acrylic that's like a yellow ochre. You can use a craft paint or a different grade artist paint. Anything will work on Smoothfoam. And I gave the whole thing a good coat of that. I wanted to add some brown accents to kind of make it almost look like an old wood piece. So I took some brown acrylic paint on a paintbrush and dry brushed around the edges and along the surface. And then I just set it aside to let it dry. To make the cute little turkey accents that I used around the edges of our votive, I'm using Makin's clay, which is a no-bake, air-dry polymer clay. I'm also using the Makin's Ultimate Clay machine, a Makin's texture sheet, and this cute little clay cutter from the newest Makin's Clay Halloween cutter set. To use the clay, I just take from the package what I need and then place the rest into a Ziploc baggie with a damp paper towel, and it'll last for quite some time. The clay is soft right out of the package and does not have to be conditioned. I'm going to place it in our clay machine on the number 1 setting. Now this is the thickest setting on this machine, which has 9 settings, so you can get it almost paper thin. And roll it through. And you're left with a nice smooth surface. To add the texture, I'm going to put the clay onto the texture sheet, and then I'm going to roll it through the clay machine again on the same setting. It's still on a 1. And then it will pop off of that texture sheet. Another neat feature of these texture sheets is that one side of it will emboss onto the clay and the other side will deboss, so it's almost like getting 2 texture sheets with every one. So once our clay was rolled and textured, I went ahead and used this cute little turkey cutter to just randomly cut the little turkey shapes from this rolled clay. I used this great mustard tone and this deep chocolatey brown from the earth tones and vineyard tone sets of clay. I love these 2 sets because they've got a great autumny feel and the colors are rich. Any extra clay you have after you've cut out all of your images, you put back into that Ziploc baggie and it'll be ready to use next time. The clay can take up to 24 hours to dry depending upon the thickness and the conditions where you're using it. A thin piece like this will probably be dry within an hour or so. I wanted to add some color to my turkeys to give their feathers a little bit more pop. And you can color Makin's clay with a wide variety of things. Colored pencils, markers, gel pens, acrylic paints. I have used gel finishes and glazes. There's a wide variety of things you can use. For this, I just used some acrylic paint and put a small amount onto a fine paintbrush We'll move these. Now I could paint these wet. It'll work wet or dry. But for these dry pieces, I'm going to show you, I just went in and made some swipes along the tail for feathers. I wanted that great texture to show, so I didn't worry too much about getting a solid line because I like the effect of the texture. And I thought he needed an eye, so I added a little eye. I did the same thing. This is a red oxide color, which shows up really well and is a good autumny tone on both colors of clay. Then on my brown turkey, I went back with this yellow ochre. Again, it's sort of a mustardy, autumny yellow, and went between those reddish brown feathers to add some more color. And on the yellowy toned turkeys, I went ahead with some brown and did the same thing. I then let the acrylic paint dry. After I had layered my 2 pieces of smooth foam, I went ahead and added this piece of trim around the edges. It hides that seam, but it also adds a nice accent to it, I think. And I used some beacon adhesives, tacky glue, to mount my finished little turkeys around the twill. And I kept going with an alternate pattern all the way around my piece. I scattered a few artificial leaves, placed my little votive holder on top, and then simply set my tea light votives right on top. And it's a cute little accent for a side table to set the autumn theme, or you could make it larger with any size candles and use it as a centerpiece on your Thanksgiving table. I hope you enjoyed this project featuring smooth foam and Makin's clay. Stay tuned for the next episode of Creatively Crafty with Cindi McGee. For more Makin's Clay creative ideas, visit www.makinsclayblog.blogspot.com. For more smooth foam creative ideas, visit their blog at www.smoothfoam.com/blog.